Mid-February 1943. Near the Tunisian border, inside a modest desert command post, Field Marshal Erwin Rommel sat alone at a wooden desk, pen moving steadily across paper. Outside the tent, engines idled, men laughed, and the Africa Corps celebrated a victory that seemed decisive. American forces had been smashed at Kasserine Pass. Inside, Rommel was not celebrating, he was calculating. The letter he was writing was addressed to his wife, Lucy. It was not sentimental, it was blunt, clinical, and revealing. Rommel wrote that the American soldiers he had just defeated were poorly trained, inexperienced, and badly led. Their officers, he noted, committed mistakes so basic that they would have faced court-martial in any professional European army. What Rommel had witnessed at Kasserine was not merely defeat, it was collapse. In less than 6 days of fighting, American forces had suffered over 6,000 casualties. Entire battalions surrendered. Vehicles, artillery, and supplies were abandoned where they stood. Units dissolved under pressure, retreating without orders. To Rommel, the scene was hauntingly familiar. He had seen it before in France in 1940, when supposedly modern armies disintegrated under concentrated German attack. The Americans, Rommel concluded, had not simply lost, they had been humiliated. For American soldiers who had grown up on stories of World War I valor and inherited myths of martial honor, Kasserine Pass was a psychological shock. Men who had expected to test themselves against the enemy now wondered whether they belonged on the battlefield at all. Rommel believed he was witnessing something more than tactical failure. He believed he was watching American morale break in real time. In his letter, Rommel argued that Germany stood at a critical moment. If the Wehrmacht launched another offensive within weeks, before the Americans could absorb their defeat and correct their errors, German forces could drive them into the sea. The Americans, he wrote, were learning warfare the hard way against Germany's most experienced formations. Time was the enemy. Delay would allow adaptation. This assessment was forwarded to Berlin, where it found a receptive audience. The directive was clear: exploit American weakness immediately. Do not allow recovery. Do not allow reform. Rommel's judgment was not rooted in prejudice or arrogance. It was grounded in observation. The failure at Kasserine. At Kasserine Pass, American forces had demonstrated a cascade of critical failures. Units were deployed in exposed positions without mutual support. Coordination between infantry, armor, and artillery was minimal. Radio discipline collapsed under pressure, turning command nets into channels of confusion and panic. When German armor struck concentrated weak points, American units often withdrew without authorization, triggering broader retreats as neighboring formations followed suit. Panic became contagious. The core of the problem lay in leadership. The commander of U.S. Second Corps, Major General Lloyd Fredendall, directed operations from a headquarters carved into a canyon nearly 70 miles behind the front lines. He relied exclusively on radio and telephone communications, issuing orders without seeing the battlefield or understanding conditions at the point of contact. His directives were often contradictory, slow, and disconnected from reality. German intelligence officers compiled meticulous reports. They concluded that American equipment was generally adequate. When cornered, American soldiers fought with courage, but the American command structure, from corps down to battalion level, was amateurish. These were troops fighting their first major engagement against the Wehrmacht, learning modern warfare while under fire from its most experienced practitioners. Rommel calculated that correcting these deficiencies would take time, at least 6 months to stabilize leadership, and perhaps a full year to develop effective operational doctrine. If Germany attacked again in March, Rommel believed the outcome would mirror Kasserine. German confidence rested in doctrine that delivered victory repeatedly since 1939.